Hello, finance class. We're starting chapter 11 now. This first video, we're actually going to do two video lectures. So we're going to do 1.1 and I think it's 1.2 or it might be 2.1. The first video is only 3 minutes long. Okay. Yeah, 1.1, 1.2. So, but before we pick up on that, we're going to start on page 224. We're going to do the key terms for the chapter. These are specific to my course and the test that I use. So key terms you should know for my test. Earned income. All right, so earned income, that's any income, wages, or salary that's generated by working. So that's earned income. Next, we have income tax. That's tax that is paid out of your income, i.e. any money you generate by working, etc. So that's income tax. Next, we have passive income. Passive income is money earned on a regular basis with little or no effort required to maintain it. Some things that produce passive income are real estate, intellectual property like books or internet content, or a business in which the owner is not actively involved. All right, so if you've got something set up that runs on its own without your interference, that's passive income. Really cool thing. I don't know how accurate this is going to be in the future, but in the last couple years, a very popular form of active passive income has been something called drop shipping. More or less what people do is they set up a website of sale, and they more or less create a digital middleman where you go on their website, you buy products, and the algorithm that they code onto the website means that every time someone clicks and buys a product, the algorithm goes on to their supplier and buys it for them and has the supplier ship it directly from the supplier to the buyer. And it's like a digital warehouse that doesn't require any physical storage. It's called drop shipping. Very cool thing. It's probably something you could start in college. Something I've thought about, but I just don't have the time for it because I spend my time doing stuff like this. And then again, it's something that I'd have to look into more because I don't understand it enough to actually know whether or not it's profitable. But seems like a very low risk passive income type of thing. Anyways, let's see here. I'm already making a short video long. Passive income, what do we talk about? Personal branding. So personal branding, that's actually an important phrase. That's talking about interviewing or selling yourself on a resume or making yourself an asset to someone's company as far as getting a job for job hunting. So that's personal branding. Portfolio income. Actually, you know what? No, I don't believe that one's on the test. I'm trying to think. No, I don't believe so. Property taxes is, though. Property taxes is on the test and in real life. Taxes paid by anyone who owns property such as land, a home, or commercial real estate. So the downside of property taxes, the short version is, after you finish paying for your $500,000 home in Southern California, you're not done paying for it because every year you're still going to pay taxes on it, even though you've already never mind. We'll talk about that later. The point is, when you're done paying, you're not done paying. Resume. That's a brief account of one's professional or work experience and qualifications, often submitted with an employment application. All right. And I've got a nice video. Nice. It's long and slow. It's a video tutorial of how to write a resume, but I'm thinking I might make my own. Oh, man. So the video example, if you guys have suffered through it, is the Nicolas Cage resume. I think I'm going to make my own. All right, sales tax. Tax on goods and services that goes to your state or local government. All right, so whenever you buy something at the store, you pay sales tax. Whenever you pay, your mechanic to fix your car, you pay a sales tax on his services. Social Security, that's a federal insurance program funded by taxpayer dollars that provides benefits to people who are retired, unemployed, or disabled. All right, so those are the key terms. Almost all of them. I'm pretty sure that portfolio income is not one of them. All right. Now, let's get on to the video. Sorry, I had to check and make sure my microphone was on. How terrible would it have been if I'd gone through all of that and my microphone was off. What you guys don't realize is that happens often. Why is this thing paused? I want to play the video. Yeah, that happens pretty often. Am I in the right chapter? Where are we? Self-assessment. Oh, okay, yeah, we're on chapter 11. Wow, chapter 11 is a big, long chapter. On the bright side, these first two videos are pretty short. It's so loud. I don't.
Okay, so we're talking about careers, and that means you've got to think about your college major too. And that can be pretty intimidating. Some students get freaked out about this one decision because they think it will affect what they do for the next 70 years. Let me take a little pressure off. Deciding on a major and a career is not as hard as you think. It's actually pretty simple. Think about it. What do you love to do? What gives you joy? What are you naturally good at? What are your hobbies and your interests that you already are engaging in? You can turn this into a career. These questions will help you figure out how you're wired. And when you figure that out, you'll start to see what you might actually enjoy doing for a career. And that'll help you pick a major. You can even experiment a little bit. Once you get an idea of what you might want to do, then get a part-time job in that field or volunteer with someone already doing that kind of work, or just shadow someone on the job for a few days. Wear them out with questions. If you spend a few days or a few weeks doing the job and you absolutely hate it, then you know you're on the wrong track. Be smart. Invest time in making your decision rather than spending time fixing it later. And remember, just because a particular job pays well doesn't mean it will be something that you will enjoy. Sure, you need to make enough money to support yourself and your future family. Just don't get money and happiness confused. Money doesn't buy happiness. One last thought. The job market constantly changes, and so do you. The average job these days only lasts 2 or 3 years before someone's ready to move on to something else. So, even if you decide this career doesn't fit you 10 years from now, it's not the end of the world. It's actually pretty normal. What's important is that you do what you love, you do what you're naturally gifted at, and when you do that with excellence, you'll find a way to make money. You won't have to worry about money if you do what you love.
Okay, so now I get to talk while we set up the next video. As far as in the very beginning, he says it's not that hard to figure out what you want to do. You just find out what you like doing, and then you figure it out. I think this might be a generational issue, because those words weren't true for me. That wasn't true for me. I know it's not true for a lot of people. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't figure out I wanted to be a teacher until I was 22, 23. I don't know, about 5-6 years after graduating high school. So if you do the math, figuring it out a year before you graduate as far as college goes, I was about 6-7 years behind the curve since I was 5 or 6 years out of high school. So 6-7 years out, 6-7 years late. I think part of it might be, our generations are very blessed and spoiled with a lot of things that we enjoy, or maybe it's just you've never known want or need, or maybe you've never taken the time to get out there and figure out what it is you like. If you are the person who is in high school and you I already know exactly where I'm going to be, that's awesome. Great. I'm very happy for you. Go get it done. If you're not that person, there's one very important rule you need to remember, because you might not figure it out by the time you graduate high school. The very important rule is do not be stagnant. Get a job. Go learn. Okay, or at least let me put it this way: you've got 2 tracks. If you have no idea what you're doing, track 1 is you're going to get a job and continue learning or continue school. So probably at a junior college. Since you have no idea what you want to do, go to a junior college. Don't go to a 4-year university and waste your money on you don't know what, because you have no idea what your future is going to be. So get a job, go to junior college. That's if you have no idea what you want to do. Or the second option is get a career or a trade and figure out what you want to do, right? But the main thing is you need to be working while you're figuring this out. If you're just sitting on your parents' couch doing nothing, that you're being a loser. Stop it. You're a grown adult. By the time you graduate high school, you'll be a grown adult. You don't have time to be a loser. Get to work, and it's okay if you have no idea what you want to do. I had a pretty I had a pretty decent handful of jobs before I figured out what it was I actually wanted to do. And then I even had a couple in between. I had a couple of other jobs in between knowing what I wanted to do and getting there. So the main point is get to work. When you graduate high school, you get to work. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you want to do. You better get to work, because then you'll figure it out faster, because you'll be doing that crummy job and you're like, I really hate this job. And it puts it in perspective for you and realize, you know what I really do like? I like this. And you're like, oh, can I get a job in that? So get to work, and don't get trapped in a job you don't like. We'll talk more about liking your career, I guess. I don't know, maybe in the next video. All right, let's get started.
I wouldn't use income as my primary way of choosing a career. I would use a passion for that career, a calling to that career, something that gets you excited when you think about that career. Now, obviously, then you need to take your talent, your passion, your calling, and find a way to monetize it in the marketplace. You can't just say, well, I'm going to be an artist, and all artists starve, and so I'm going to get an art degree and starve. Well, that would be stupid. Instead, you need to say, I'm an artist. Now, how am I going to go into the marketplace as an artist and become one of the best paid artists of all times? I mean, let's bring in tens of millions of dollars and name ourselves Thomas Kincaid. So come up with a way that you go into the marketplace and create what might not be a genre that is always known for paying well, but the way you do it in the market enables you to earn, well, even better than a good living.
Seven jobs? That makes me want to count. I'm going to count.
One time a friend asked me a weird question. We were having a conversation, we were having a cup of coffee, and he said, hey, John, what do your voices tell you? And I didn't really know how to answer that. So I said, what do you mean my voices? He said, well, I've asked 1,000 people that question, and nobody has a positive internal voice. Nobody's voice says, you sure are in good shape. You sure are pretty. You're the best person for the football team. You're going to get that scholarship. Nobody's voice says those kinds of things. If anything, they say the opposite. And most of us think they're friends, but they're actually our foes. And so I started to think about that in my own life. I started to listen for those voices of fear and doubt. Because here's the simple truth. Fear is like criticism. It only gets loud when you do something that matters. And that's what we're trying to help you do, is have a life that matters. So as you work on that, you're going to bump into fear. You're going to bump into doubt. And I certainly have in my own life. I mean, when I started to write books, I had a...
Sorry to interrupt you, John. While he's talking about fear and doubt and being uncertain about the future. So I did a quick count. If I count jobs in my 20s, I'm only at 4. If I count jobs in my teens and 20s, 8. So I don't know. I started working very early. I got my first job under the table at like 14. At least I hope I was 14. Pretty sure I was 14. It's possible I was 13. Pretty sure I was 14. Anyways, got my first job under the table at 14. So starting work early, definitely a good idea. But I think we already talked about that. Go ahead and talk about your uncertainties and fears, John.
A lot of doubt. My first book was a funny book. It was a humor book. It was illustrated. And when I tried to write my second book, it was hard. I felt this gap between those experiences. And I felt this voice jump into that gap and say, who are you to write a serious book? Who are you to write a business book? Your first book wasn't a real book. It was based on a blog. There's pictures in that book. There's a unicorn in that book. You don't get to write a real book. When you start something new, a lot of us hear that. Who are you to do that? Who are you to think you have the talent or the intelligence or the courage to chase that new dream? It might be applying to a school. It might be going out for a play. But there's this fear and this doubt that gets loud when we try new things. And fear tries to hold us back. So what do we do in that moment? How do you and I be smart about that moment? Because you're going to bump into fear. Well, I think there's 3 things you need to do. And I love sharing this type of information. Dave Ramsey always tells me, John, inspiration without instruction is useless. So I want to talk a little about instruction. What do you do when you bump into fear? Well, the first thing you do is you write it down. You write down that voice. You know, fear is loud and big inside your head with so many colors. But you write it down on a piece of paper, and you start to see how small it is, how silly it is. You start to see for what it really is. The second thing I want you to do, I want you to refute it with truth, not argue with it, not go back and forth. You'll get tangled and lose so much of your day if you try to argue with your voice. No, I just want you to write one true sentence. Here's an example from my own life. One morning I got up. It was Monday morning at 7:30 a.m., and I heard this voice say, "You're too late. The week is already over." And so I wrote it down, and I refuted it. I put one sentence of truth. I said, the week has just started. It's 7:30 a.m. on a Monday. I couldn't have more time available if I wanted to. So that's the second thing I want you to do. And the third thing, I want you to share that voice. Do you know what fear fears? Community. Fear is terrified of you connecting with other teenagers that have the same struggles, the same challenges, the same opportunities. Fear always tries to put you on an island, to isolate you, to make you think you're the only one that struggles with something.
Okay.
You're not.
Right. Hey, I don't know if it's just because I woke up a little late this morning. I don't know. John Acuff is just not resonating with me today. Everything he's saying is absolutely true. Just the method of delivery, I don't know. It just seems a little weak to me. The main point and gist of what he's saying right now is you need to reconcile reality with your emotions. Okay? Very often, especially when it's connected to your finances or when it's connected to getting to work, or if you're in a slump because things don't seem to be working out and you get this mode of you're not sure if they ever will work out. That's your emotions taking over the logical part of your brain. Okay. Remember, we've talked about this with lottery tickets and all kinds of other things. Putting a magic number in your head for a lottery will completely override your logical part of your brain. Your emotional part of your brain will go, it could be me, and think about all the money you're going to spend when you never win it. And then there's another thing that can also override the logical part of your brain, which is debt and bills. You know, you're totally in love with someone until you find out they've got $40,000 worth of credit card debt from buying shoes. And then the logical part takes over and goes, okay, well, back up emotions, right? It's the same thing with mild depression, I guess. It seems like that's what he's describing. I don't know, depression, laziness, procrastination, whatever you want to call it. It's the same general fight, is the emotional part of your brain starts to take over the logical part. Now, some of you may be thinking I'm telling you emotions have no place in thinking and you shouldn't be emotional at all. And you know what? I understand why you'd think that because, you know, I generally like to live in the logical part of my brain. Emotions are necessary. They're good, valuable things, but you need to let them sit where they belong. And they have when it comes to these types of emotions, these negative emotions, they have no place in reality. You got to reconcile your emotions with reality, because sometimes your emotions are true. Sometimes they're backed up. You know, if a close family member dies, you're going to have some very strong emotions about that, and those emotions are 100% true, definitely merited. That's your time to be emotional. That's perfectly fine. If it's just a Thursday and it's rainy and you don't feel like getting out of bed, those emotions, they're not lining up with reality. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and we're gonna skip past some of John's lecture here because he's just not getting to the point fast enough for me. Also, this video's already gone on way too long. Where are we at? 18 minutes. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of info here. We've got all the blanks now. It seems like he's just going to give us more of an emotional pep talk. Let's find out.
Memorized? It's not the 175. What do those people know? It's the 7 one-star reviews. And everybody struggles with it, even celebrities.
Yeah.
I think about Larry David.
Now he's talking about the comment section. He's talking about his book reviews on his books. He had like 75,000 4 or 5 star reviews, and then he had like 12 1-star reviews on his book, and he got bothered by the 1-star reviews. I guess the key point there is that it can be really, really damaging if you've got a small number of people that just say mean things about you. It's like that old adage, sticks and stones will never break, or will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's not true. 100% false. Words hurt, but you're not alone. Words hurt everyone. You can still reconcile reality with your emotions. So those emotions that he's talking about right now, he's talking about those really small number of comments that said his book was terrible, versus the 75,000 positive reviews he had. Reconcile your emotions with reality. It's like these are the good reviews, these are the bad reviews, and he's focused on the bad reviews. You need to reconcile emotions with reality. That's the main lesson here. Let's fast forward a little bit. Let's see here.
Don't let the 0.008% of people in your life control your life.
Same stuff I said.
Control your dreams. You've got to let them go, because as you build your brand, and you're going to.
Okay, I'm done with this video. The last lesson is, don't surround yourself with negative people. I mean, there's a difference between constructive criticism and people who are just negative. Consider the source of your information. If you know a super negative person, they're always saying negative stuff, and they tell you something negative, don't let it bother you. Water off a duck's back. You'll be fine. Those of you who don't know what that expression means, have you ever seen a wet duck? Yeah, go to the pond. Let me know how many ducks are wet.